Ooh. Welcome, I'm Randy, and I am a diehard Star Wars fan. And my best friend, which is an original Trekkie from the original Star Trek, has he has challenged me to watch all Star Trek and give a review. So that's what I'm going to do from start to finish. I started with Enterprise, Broken Bow. Is it Broken Bow? Yeah, Broken Bow. That was the first thing I've watched, and I haven't watched any more. Now, I've seen Star Trek as a kid, some here and there, but this is where I have started, is with Enterprise and Broken Bow. And I got notes because I did watch it, and I was pleasantly surprised at the action. I remember as a kid, is most Star Trek stuff was kind of thought-provoking and slow, and I didn't care for it as much as I did Star Wars, lightsabers and Darth Vader. So now as an adult, an old adult, I am watching all of Star Trek and going to review it and see exactly how I feel. Every Friday night, I'm going to do this, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I figured I'd spend 30, 40 minutes talking about what I learned, and you, as you watch along, please tell me, teach me stuff in the comments, and if you have any questions for me, I'll answer them. So let's get started. And like I said, it was part 1 and part 2, and I was very pleased at the action. It kept me entertained. I thought it was pretty cool. And from what I remember as a kid, there was some things that really turned me off about Star Trek, and that was I think I was probably 6 or 7 when I watched the motion picture. And the motion picture, there was a scene in there that it was Kirk and somebody else. I don't know who that is. Eventually, I'll get to know who that is because I'm going to watch everything. They were in a small spaceship, and they were like flying through space, and they were looking at the Enterprise. And it seemed like it was 45 minutes. And I knew right then, yeah, that's not for me. So yeah, I don't remember watching much Star Trek after that. And I remember liking Spock a little bit, but I don't remember much about him. And I remember watching The Wrath of Khan and thinking, yeah, this is pretty good. But yeah, most Star Trek, I didn't watch it. So here I am now as an old adult watching it to see if I like it. Okay? Now, let's talk about the Suliban species. Hopefully I'm saying that right. The Suliban. So this is what I have seen Star Trek as a kid. I've heard things. I'm a nerd. So yeah, I hear stuff and I see TikToks and I see Instagrams. But Suliban, I have never heard that word before, ever. Now, some of the species that I had heard was Klingons, Vulcans, Andorians, of course, and the Borg. But I had never heard of, what were they called? Suliban species, Suliban, right? And when I did some research, it come to find out that the person that created the name of the Suliban, however you pronounce it, it was the Taliban that they got the name from. Of course, this was before 9/11. Of course, if it would have been 9/11 would have happened, they wouldn't have named this species after the Taliban. But that's all right. They did, and they're both evil. And yeah, and while I was watching this for the first time ever, I realized, wow, this is a creepy species. And like I said, I had never heard of this species or seen this species ever, right? So yeah, being a Star Wars fan, and now, my best friend saying, watch all of Star Trek, I started with Broken Bow, and right off the bat, I did not know the species. So Suliban, I don't know. Is there, let me see here. Can I get comments or, I don't even know. Chat. There we go. Maybe. So, you know, if you can teach me something, put it in the chat. All right. So, yeah, of course, they were creepy to look at, and I enjoyed this episode, or 2 episodes, right? It's part 2. So, obviously, Archer did not like the Vulcans, and what I remember as a kid, I remember seeing Spock. I remember Spock. Maybe the search for Spock. I mean, you got to remember, I was little when these movies come out, and they were just too slow for me, so I didn't stay with it. And, you know, I come a Star Wars fan, Darth Vader, lightsabers. So when I see the Vulcans in this, right, was it T'Pol and the High Council? I don't feel like they're Spock. I feel like they're like babysitters for Earthlings. I feel like they're buttholes basically. They don't want anything to do really with Earthlings. They control everything. And Archer, he's not putting up with that. So, you know, I was really shocked at how the Vulcans acted in this, because as a kid, I remember Spock kind of just being monotone. Not really, I don't remember a lot of attitude. Now, I kind of do in, what was it, the Abrams, and I know those supposedly are not real. I think I watched one of those, 1.5 of those, and Spock in that was different than the original Spock. The original Spock just seemed like he was just monotone, no emotion, where these Vulcans in Broken Bow, first 2 episodes of Enterprise, I just feel like that they weren't, I don't know, they just didn't feel like Spock to me. So maybe as the series goes, they're going to change, and, you know, I feel like they don't care for Earthlings, and I don't know, I just got that feeling, right? So next on my list, I took notes here, right? Rigel 10. Wow, what a place. I thought it was fascinating. I enjoyed seeing like an underground kind of thing. And I mean, I guess the big deal when I did a little bit of research was the butterfly twins. You know, one was pink, one was blue. They had long tongues and they ate butterflies. It was pretty funny seeing the crew being wide-eyed like they'd never seen anything like that. But, you know, I thought that part of the show was pretty cool. You got to see a seedy part of the underground, and yeah, you know, there was a lot of action happened on, what was that? It was Rigel 10. Yeah, so pretty interesting, right? And let me check my notes here. I got some more here I could talk about. So, and in case you're wondering, my best friend, Star Trek, he's a Trekkie from the old school original series, and I was a Star Wars fan, and he challenged me to watch every episode and every movie of Star Trek, starting from Enterprise on all the way through. And every Friday night, I'm going to do a review on the week's episode prior. So, like I said, I watched a little bit of Star Trek as a kid when I was younger, but yeah, I'm not a Trekkie for sure. But here we go. So, all right. So let's talk about some of the stuff I didn't like. Now, this Phlox character, okay, I can't stand him, and I don't know why. Now, it's only been these 2 episodes, 2-part. And I'm not sure why. He just has a laid-back attitude. He's got the creepy smile, but he's always judging people. And I don't know. I don't trust this guy. I don't like this guy. I just find him irritating. And, you know, if somebody else thinks he's irritating, please let me know. Because, yeah, I'm not too keen on him. Now, you know, maybe down the road, I'll start liking this guy, but right now I don't like you, Phlox. Yeah, Phlox. And the uniforms, Lord have mercy. What did I say? I called them prison mechanic onesies. Come on. There's got to be a better uniform. These things are terrible. They look like they're in freezers, working at Publix or something. You know, working in the freezer and coming out, and it just, boom, you know, just... yeah, terrible. So I did not like the uniforms. I mean, blue onesies, man. Come on, really? And Klang's feet. So this is his, So I saw this and I was kind of freaked out by it. And I don't know why. But Klang, the Klingon, right? His second toe is raised. And it's like his third toe and big toe are touching. And that toe is up in the air. Now, this is my question. Is that toe his toe in real life? Or is that a Klingon trait? Please tell me, because that was the weirdest thing ever. When he's laid up there dying, or fixing to die, or kind of dying, and where Phlox is working on him, it shows his foot, and that second toe is like stuck up in the air. Is that something that is normally on a Klingon? Because that was kind of weird. I'm like, wow, if that was his real toe, that's even weirder, right? So yeah, I'm trying not to judge, but that was a weird thing, right? And okay, so Trip. Let's talk about Trip. I didn't think I would like Trip. I figured he would be like, Iceman from Top Gun, kind of like the villain and blah, blah, blah. But I actually like Trip. He, so far in these 2 episodes, he turns out to be pretty darn cool. And one of the things that I like is that him and Archer don't shy away from eating meat in front of T'Pol, which is a vegan. And Vulcans don't touch food with their hands. Has that always been a thing? I just thought that was kind of weird, And so far, let me see here. Okay, the stun guns. They talk about the stun guns being, be sure you don't mix it up. Did this entire series or episode, the Broken Bow, first and second episode of Enterprise, did they only use stun on those guns? They never really explained it. They just said, hey, you got stun and you got death or kill or whatever they said. And he said, you better know the difference. But when they hit these people with the stun guns, it looks like it's killing them. But I got a feeling that it's the stun. And yeah, I just thought the action was fantastic. And yeah, I was pretty shocked at how much they were shooting. They weren't blasters, they're phasers, right? Is it phasers? And another thing was there at the end. Okay, so Archer was in the space station and he sets the bomb or the magnetic charge on the wall. This is one of the issues I had. He sets the charge, walks around the corner, and then leans up against the wall. And 3 seconds later, the charge goes off. He could have made it back to the ship. They could have been gone, had Klang, and been to Kronos, and it be over with. But that's not what happened. He stood there, let the magnetic charge explode, and then he couldn't get back to the ship. So now he has to fight. And what I found weird was the Suliban. They never really showed us, but why did the Suliban want him out of that room so bad? The tracer room, the tracers. Why did the Suliban want him out of the room so bad? He even provoked the Suliban, forcing the Suliban character to tackle him, right? And then they get into a fight, drop the gun, and then he jumps outside the door as the doors are closing, and now they're getting into their fight. I just find it kind of weird that he was like, I need you to leave this room. What was going on? Why would he need him to leave that room so fast? I don't know. I just thought that was kind of weird. And, that reminds me. So, they teased it throughout the series, that those 2 episodes, they were transporting, beaming up food and supplies, and they were laughing and talking about, you're not beaming me up. Humans, right? So T'Pol, and before I get there, T'Pol and Trip are arguing, and I feel like something was missing because they were arguing and Trip didn't quite give a good enough reason why they should go back and get Archer, and T'Pol is totally against it, right? And then it goes to Archer fighting, and then all of a sudden T'Pol and Trip and the Enterprise is actually flying back to get Archer, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. They must have cut some stuff out because they never really showed T'Pol going, oh, you're right, let's go get him. It was, we're not going to get him. We're finishing the mission, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden now they're going to get him. So I feel like they probably recorded some more of the argument between Trip and T'Pol, and they cut it because it wasn't good or something. So I find that kind of weird, right? So it just all of a sudden, bam, now they're going, and when they realize they can't get to Archer, they go to Plan B. In Plan B, they beam him up, and the look on his face and him touching his chest, going like, oh my God, they just beamed me up. That was like the highlight of the show to me. I really enjoyed that. I like the fighting too. I thought the fighting was cool, and learning a new episode, Suliban. So the message was in Klang's blood. Klang didn't know about it, so every time he was interrogated, he was telling the truth. And he showed up on Kronos wanting to die. You know, I failed, kill me now. They cut his hand to take the blood, and the information was in his blood. Now, how did the higher-up Klingons know that the message was in his blood? Somebody had to say, hey, the message is in his blood. Why couldn't they have just said, hey, we were going to put the message in the blood, but since we're talking to you, why don't we just go ahead and tell you what it is? There's a faction of Suliban that is making it look like that Klingons are fighting each other. I mean, if you're telling them, hey, we're sending a message in the blood, you could have just said what the message was. So the writing there, but when it comes down to it, I thought this was a fantastic start. And yeah, I was excited to watch this episode. And yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the next one. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. You know, maybe by the end of this, I'll be a Trekkie, but I got a long way to go. I was looking at the list. Holy cow. So, you know, if you're interested in following along and teaching me stuff about certain episodes, I'm just going to go in chronological order. I watched Broken Bow, which is part 1 and part 2 of Enterprise. And the next episode is 3 of Enterprise of season 1. So let me know, you know, next Friday. I'm going to watch it this week, and I'll, you know, watch and come on here and do a live take of season 1, episode 3 of Enterprise. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.